Hey, in today's video, we're going to quickly go over some frequently asked questions. Now, we have some other videos that go into more detail on these questions, but today, just a quick question and answer. Coming up next. Hey, my name is Mel Stubbs. I'm here on behalf of Retirement Benefits Institute, talking to federal employees about their retirement system and better planning ideas for retirement. If you like this kind of information, please like and subscribe. So the first frequently asked question is, when is the best day to retire? Now, generally, the best day to retire for a FERS employee is at the end of the month or as close to the end of the month as you can. Technically, you can retire at any time. So if you're eligible, you can retire tomorrow. But the reason why people go towards the end of the month is that the closer you are to the end of the month, the shorter the gap between your last paycheck and your first pension check. So generally, the end of the month, if there's an end of the pay period that's somewhat near the end of the month, that's a great day to go. Maybe the last day of the year, the end of December can be a great day to go. But generally, end of the month is better. So the next question, how is my annuity computed? So for a FERS employee, it is your number of years of credible service. So credible service is your actual service that you actually worked plus your sick leave gives you credible service. So that number of years times 1% times your high 3. Now, if you have worked 30 years times 1% would be 30% of your high 3. So your number of years kind of turns into a percentage times your high 3. Now, if you are 62 with 20 years of service, you get an enhanced annuity. This is not multiplying by 1%. Now you'll multiply by 1.1. And what kind of difference does 0.1 make? Well, it's a 10% raise. So it does make a difference. So if you're 61 and a half years old getting ready to retire, maybe do the math and maybe wait till 62. Now, if the math works for you to retire and you're 59, don't wait till 62. But just know it's either 1% times high 3 times your number of years of credible service, or it's 1.1% times your high 3 times credible service, depending on if you get the enhanced annuity or not. So the next question, how is my high 3 determined? So your high 3 is your 36 months of consecutive service at your highest pay. So for a lot of people, it's going to be the last 36 months that you work because you've gotten raises your whole career, and the last 36 months, the last 3 years, that's your highest pay. So for a lot of people, that's what it's going to be. But it doesn't have to be. Whenever the highest 3 consecutive years of pay is, that's what you'll get. Now, obviously, they take the 3-year average, they divide it by 3 to come up with an annual number, and that's the number that's used for your high 3. The next question, what happens to my sick leave when I retire? So your sick leave gets added on to your service. So you will get paid a little bit more every month because of your sick leave. So you take your start date, that'd be your service computation date for retirement, and then your retirement date. You figure that math out, that is your actual service. That's what you actually worked. Now, sick leave adds on top of that. One thing to keep in mind though is when they do the annuity computation, you get credit for years of service, you get credit for months of service. You do not get credit for days of service that's less than 30 days. If the days add up to more than 30 days, you'll get an additional month. But let's say you have 30 years, 6 months, and 25 days. The 25 days is going to be wasted. So what a lot of people do is like, well, man, I'm gonna start taking some sick days when I get close to retirement. OPM has a sick leave conversion table, and that table, when you look at it, it's kind of interesting. 1 day is about 6 hours in OPM's world. So when you take an 8-hour day off, you actually took like a day and a quarter. Like you spend it faster than you think. So make sure if you got 25 days to spend, you don't really have 25 days to spend. But to answer the question, sick leave adds on to your time. You'll get a little bit more money every month because of sick leave. So the next question, when am I eligible to retire? So for a FERS employee, there's 3 eligibilities. Now the first one is MRA plus 30. So MRA, if you see here on the chart, will be somewhere between 55 all the way up to 57, depending on your date of birth. So when you hit that age, MRA, minimum retirement age, and you have 30 years of actual service, you can retire. Now, so if you don't meet that, then at 60, age 60 with 20 years, you can retire. Or age 62 with 5 years, you can retire. Now, in all of these instances, you have to have the actual service of 30 years, 20 years, or 5 years. You can't work 29 years and then have a year of sick leave, and that gets you to eligibility. No, you have to have the actual service, and the sick leave gets added on top, but the sick leave cannot get you to eligibility. You have to have the actual service to do that. So 3 different versions: MRA with 30 years, age 60 with 20 years, age 62 with 5 years, and you are eligible to retire with no reduction. So the last question: what happens to my health insurance when I retire? Now, if you're a regular FERS employee, nothing changes. Now, if you're a postal worker, there are some changes at retirement, so you want to check into that. But regular FERS employee, not a postal worker, your insurance remains the same in retirement. And what I mean by that is the government is paying about 72% of your premium. You're paying about 28% of your premium. That remains the same in retirement. Every year at open enrollment, you can pick a new plan. That remains the same. The only thing that changes is a tax thing. While you're working, you get to pay for your health care before taxes. Meaning when you get your W-2, they have subtracted out your traditional TSP contributions, because that's before tax. They also subtract out your health insurance, so that's before tax. Then you pay taxes on that number. But when you retire, you now have to pay for health care after taxes. So where does some planning come in with that? Most people, either you're single, you're the only federal employee, you got to pay with after-tax dollars. Or you're married, but your spouse is not federal. Well, that means at retirement, you've got to pay with after-tax dollars. Where an extra planning piece comes in if you are dual fed, if you are married to another federal employee. Let's say one of you is retiring now, the other is retiring 2 years from now. You're going to want to switch the family coverage over to the employee that is still working. So for the next 2 years, while one's retired, one isn't, if the health insurance is under the employee, you get to pay for it with before tax dollars. If you leave it with the retiree, it's after tax. So the majority of people won't have a choice. When you retire, it will switch over to paying for it with after tax dollars. But if you are married to a federal employee, that is a planning point to keep in mind. Now, a lot of these questions, we have videos that go more in detail on those questions. So please check out our other videos. Search for it if you have questions. You can go to retireinstitute.com, go over to resources and down to videos and see all the videos that are there. There are blogs on that website. Anything you need, if you need help, reach out to retireinstitute.com or call the number on your screen. My name is Mel Stubbs. I will talk to you next time.